Hello, I'm Steve Cohen, and this is Congressional Report. We're home for the Passover Easter break, seeing constituents, seeing fine young men been appointed to our military academies, and trying to come up with a new federal district court judge for Memphis, and meeting with constituents on different issues and visiting in the community. In Washington, Memphis music will be honored with a special concert at the White House, produced by Public Broadcasting Service and WTA in Washington. It'll be on television here in Memphis on Tuesday the 16th of April and hopefully repeated on the 19th of April, 7 o'clock Standard Time, April the 16th. Watch the show. Tribute to Memphis music from the White House. With me, I've got my staff, my district director and my two deputy directors, and I want you to learn something about my office if you don't know. First, my district director, Marzie Thomas, teenager, lots of history in Memphis with different community organizations and with the Tri-State Defender and with my office for a long time, and my district director, and I'm proud to have Marzie with us here, and her two deputy directors, Beanie Self, who's been a friend for many years and worked in my first congressional campaign of 1996, and been working with me for a long time in the office, and a community activist, neighborhood person really, for many years before coming to work in the office, and Hank, Willie Henry, who has done so much in the community as a counselor and a minister, and has been with the office since its inception in January the 2nd, I guess, or whatever it was, 2007. It helped me in my first campaign, which I appreciate. And both Beanie and Willie Henry, aka Hank, are deputy directors with particular areas of responsibility. And I just want to thank all of you for what you've done in the office over the years to make it such a good functioning unit. And Marzie, tell us a little bit about yourself for those that don't know you. Where'd you go to school? I think was it the high school, Booker T. Washington? The high school,
Booker T. Washington.
Yeah.
Class of 1970. I also attended Lemoyne College. I'm a Memphian, a native Memphian. I did live some in Chicago, up north, Summers, but basically my education was all here in Memphis. I reside with my grandparents, and between my grandparents and my parents in Chicago. So I had the best of both worlds, and just prepared us for what we're doing today.
And when you were at the Tri-State Defender for how many years?
16 years. I served there marketing director for 9, and I was named the editor and publisher during, right after the death of Mr. John Sinstack, which was the owner, owned the Chicago Defender and Pittsburgh Courier and Michigan Chronicle, and Tri-State Defender was the paper in the South.
Did the connection of the Tri-State with the Defender in Chicago and your time in Chicago have any connection to your working there?
No, not really. Once I started with the Tri-State Defender here in the city, it was an advantage that I knew so much about Chicago, and we worked between the two, and I went there on several occasions to assist them, so I was real familiar with it, and it helped with my total job there. It was an advantage.
And when did you come to the office? Was it 2008 or 2009?
In 2008.
And you were my deputy director, and now you're the district director, and,
Yes,
and now you've got to oversee the work of the whole office, including Beanie and Hank. How are they to work with, and how's the office doing?
It's wonderful. Our team, we've been so vital here in the community with the powers you've instilled in us and the authority that you've given us. And assisting constituents has always been our goal, and that's what we do. And as a team, we just jailed. During this last transition, we just moved right into the different slots, but we were all accustomed to taking care of the constituent. That's our focus and our goal.
And you specialize in Veterans Affairs, have you not?
Veterans Affairs and military issues.
What are some of the issues that veterans come to you with problems?
The veterans, most of the issues now are with benefits, receiving their benefits in a timely manner, also the care that they're extended through the TRICARE insurance agencies, and also the VA Medical Center here in Memphis. We basically just serve as a troubleshooter in action to get things done quicker for the veteran. And this is our goal, this is our job, this is what we do.
We first had a veterans director at the Veterans Hospital who there was a little problem with, and we got a new director, Jay Robinson, who did a great job.
Correct.
He's now taken a position down at Methodist South, and I think we'll have a new director in the not too distant future. And the acting director is a lady that's there.
Dr. Knight. She's there now.
And you have contact with Dr. Knight and sometimes take cases
consistently.
to her.
Just as we did under Dr. Robinson, that transition went over, and Dr. Knight has been very cooperative. Any issues that the veterans have, be it day or night, regular visits or ER visits, they're there. Mr. Mike Harper is assistant to the director, and we have a direct line to him. And so we get the issues resolved immediately, as soon as possible.
And I saw you yesterday when I came to the office. You had a kind of a regular meeting with.
That's a monthly meeting we hold. It's called Soldier to Soldier, and that gives veterans the opportunity to come up to your office the first Monday in every month at 1 p.m. And those that have issues, they share their stories, sort of tell us what's going on, and they're able among themselves to resolve some of the issues there. They're so appreciative to you for holding that meeting there in the office for them. Attendance is picked up, and we look for more. Of course, our annual Veterans Luncheon is really what they focus on and they look forward to. But that monthly meeting, it's growing, and we invite any veteran that has any issues, come on in, let's talk about it and get it resolved. And
if they want to call, they need to call 544-4131.
Correct.
You know, I've told a story before, and I don't know, Hank or Beanie, if y'all have heard this, or Marzie, but I was in my attic in my home, which I've lived in since 1988. And one day I was kind of looking around there, and there's some kind of cases in the attic, and they've got some things that have been there since I bought the house, and among which was some little door posts that were taken off my door, and they were wrapped in newspaper. And I kind of picked them up and looked at them. But basically, I guess I looked at the newspaper, for that's what they were wrapped in, and it said, it was from a commercial appeal from 1975. And it said, if you have constituent problems, you call Congressman Harold Ford Sr. at 544-4131. And I looked at it and I thought, that's my phone number. Lucky I kept that paper.
Same number.
Things hadn't changed.
They haven't.
Hank, tell us about your background and what your areas are in the Office of Expertise are.
Well, I'm a native Memphian. I went to what I believe was the best high school in Memphis, Father Bertrand High School. Well, okay, Marzie, it was the best parochial school, the best Catholic school in Memphis, okay? And, you know, pretty much here, most of my life when I was in high school, I was one of those kids that began watching the civil rights movement on television. I had a blind great-grandmother who wanted me to tell her what was going on. So I became interested in what was happening in the world. And my life levitated toward service. I later became a counselor, later accepted a call to be a minister, to be a preacher. And interesting background. I had my period after marching nonviolently, after Dr. King was gone and my other heroes were gone. Malcolm was gone, John Kennedy was gone, Robert Kennedy was gone. I was somewhat radicalized. I became a member of the Black Panther Party. Still service, still feeding children breakfast in the morning, doing sickle cell testing for the first time in Tennessee. This job, coming to the present, is but another opportunity to be a servant leader in this community. I'm very happy about the fact that I have the opportunity to touch so many lives of so many different kinds of people. The 9th District is pretty diverse. We have our share of poverty, but we have other issues. And our team addresses issues across the board. About me, I'm about serving people. That's what melts my butter. That's what makes me happy. That's what I'm willing to make sacrifices to do.
And you're an associate pastor with Ken Whalum Jr.
Dr. Kenneth E. Whalum Jr., the New Olivet Baptist Church. I'm very happy and proud to say.
I know you are. You're very proud of your church. And what are the areas in the office that you mostly come in contact with people?
Healthcare.
Yes.
Healthcare, you know, several issues, but just looking over the past several weeks, well, looking over the past few years since we've been there, Congressman, Social Security issues which are related to healthcare issues, housing issues, social service issues. But I would say if I had to pick one that I spend the most time with, I'd have to say it has to do with healthcare. People get a slight bump in benefits. And because of the structure of things, this makes it more difficult for them to qualify for programs that would help them pay for their health care. That's an ongoing struggle that we have. I'm glad that I'm on a team that's fighting for health care for the nation, not just our district, but for our whole nation. And that's the main thing that I spend a lot of time with is health care. Mental health is a major issue. Happy to say that in my background and my years of service, I've got over 3 decades in counseling, in dealing with mental health needs, and we joke sometimes in the office about that because sometimes that background and that training comes in handy in helping us deal with our internal stress, because sometimes people can be very demanding. And when people don't have the words, they don't have the vocabulary, they don't know how to express themselves, sometimes the only way they know how to say I hurt is by expressing anger. So it takes a lot of patience. And as far as my life as a minister, another thing, and I tell you about me, but I tell you one of the things that helped me grow in this office is traditionally people see preachers and they think you got to have a church somewhere, and maybe that's why we have so many here, but I won't go there. But the thing is that I've learned that in being a pastor, you meet the needs of people, whoever they are, however they hurt. And so for me, this has also been a bit of a spiritual walk, and that's Hank.
Well, that is Hank. And you were also, when you were on the radio, weren't you, as a counselor?
Yes.
What station was that?
That was WDIA. WDIA with my good friend and still great friend Bev Johnson for a number of years. WDIA has a long history of service in this community, and I'm proud that I had an opportunity to do that for a while.
And Beanie Self, Marzie was in print. Willie's been on radio. Were you in print media or television?
I think I was in my high school drama club. And I did play cello with the college orchestra. That's the extent of my
well, that's important.
Stage
that's
work.
important. And what are the areas that you specialize in?
I work in the areas of housing, primarily. Recently, of course, we've been inundated with foreclosure issues. And so I work with a lot of folks who potentially are facing foreclosure. Also housing, multifamily housing issues. We have a lot of apartment complexes here in Memphis that participate in the low-income housing tax credit program. And so issues related to that. And FEMA. We have the areas that we've had a couple of disaster declarations in the last couple of years, and the significant impact on Memphis has been great with that, and so
we just announced, like, I think $7 million that came down out of that 2 year ago disaster.
2 years ago. Yes, and you are to be commended for that, because that is people don't realize their lives are totally destroyed, totally upheaval, and it's very, very difficult, very hard to get any kind of assistance. And we were fortunate we had a lot of volunteer groups, but that just doesn't cover it. You've got to have other resources, and that was tremendous, and it's a tremendous opportunity for Shelby County.
Now, was it Southeast Memphis that you worked with for a while?
Yes, when I had been with the University of Memphis working for the Center for Neighborhood Action, and we were working under a Brookings Institute grant looking at decline of middle classes, and it was basically we developed the Memphis model. So I set up the Southeast Memphis Community Development Corporation in the Hickory Hill area, and that Hickory Hill area became known as the Memphis model, which is used in data collection for getting information about a decline of the middle class, which is pretty significant, as you're certainly aware of in Congress.
As we're sitting here on the eve of Dr. King's anniversary of his assassination, Dr. King's dream was not just about social justice, it was economic justice.
Correct.
And obviously he was here in Memphis because of the neglect of the city administration to recognize the union, the working man giving, and women, and giving just compensation or salaries for the AFSCME and garbage workers and sanitation workers. We see it every day. What are the problems, and what do you foresee as how we're going to resolve the problems we've got in Memphis with poverty? Because if Dr. King came back, and it's been what, 45 years, a lot of the problems are still here. Hank, you were on the front lines back then.
Yeah, you know, as you talked, I remembered the night of his last speech. I was one of the young people who was sitting in the choir stand behind the pulpit.
At Mason Temple?
At Mason Temple that night. And that's what I remember most, is when he began to talk about economic justice. That was an aha moment for me. And we have a tremendous problem, but you eat an elephant one bite at a time. And I think some of the things that we need to bite into, everybody knows jobs, okay? How we develop those jobs, how we get people into those jobs. When we look at, for instance, the Tiger Grant, things like that, the opportunities that exist, how we make sure that the job training programs function in a way, and we get collaboration with government entities involved in this, so that maybe we can say, can we hire a percentage of the people who live in this area? You know, we can't tell you who to hire, but if we can give you workers, can we get a percentage? Because as a taxpayer here, my money pays for that pilot grant, right? So I'd like to see a percentage of folks get employed. That's important. Education, we cannot afford to play games. We cannot afford to establish little kingdoms and fiefdoms and posturing and have foolishness about our children's education. The only, well, not the only way, but one surefire, proven, tested way out of poverty is a good education. And yes, we have a lot of people who are educated who are still looking for jobs. This is true. But you have to prepare yourself for that job that's going to be there. And all education isn't a sheepskin. That's very important, but some of it is in developing the skills.
Correct.
Developing the skills, not just the skills to do the job, but developing the life skills. I'm involved in a program through my fraternity, Kappa Days of Caring. We're working with kids in grammar school there at Caldwell Guthrie. And the idea is that if we can help kids know how to read and know how to do math by the time they get to middle school, perhaps we can see a reduction in the prison beds. You see, we can send better students to middle school, which gives them a greater chance of completing. That impacts the dropout rate, that impacts the crime rate, and that will impact the employability of our people.
Well, there's a lot, Marzie.
Congressman, I had the opportunity a couple of weeks ago from the office to represent you at Nucor Steel. And I had just a vision of inspiration on the way to that particular plant, because I had the opportunity to pass Mitsubishi and also the Electrolux plant. And it was just a thrill, hope, and we know that it exists. I mean, there were years ago companies like Firestone, International Harvester, John Deere that were here that produced a decent income. And to see the new companies that are coming in, it gave me such a sense of hope that the future would be better. And I feel positive vibes under this administration, under leadership, people of your sort that are working so hard in Washington to empower your communities, until I think it's going to be very productive in the near future. Things are looking bright. We don't want to look at the
half-empty glass.
We're looking at the full.
Yeah, you know, you say, we just had the announcement by, and it's a subjective determination, but Forbes magazine said we were one of the 15 downtowns that are happening. And I was so proud to see us recognized in a positive manner by Forbes, and that one of the things that they highlighted was our Tiger Grant that we worked with Secretary LaHood to bring here. And people understand, I think, all that's going to do. It's going to fix up the mall, it's going to fix up the Central Station, it's going to fix up the trolley station, it's going to go all the way up to Obviously, it's going to do the bicycle and walking path to the bridge and go across that bridge, which will be, you know, really kind of a tourist attraction, an attraction for young people to come in the livability of our downtown and connect to Arkansas. And it's going to go up also in uptown development. So it's a lot of jobs it's going to produce. And when downtown happens, those are cities that flourish, have got flourishing downtowns. And they've got communities that are open to people of all diversities. And Memphis has got an opportunity, I think, with Mayor Wharton to show, and Mayor Luttrell, that we're not intolerant. I mean, we've had some problems in the past, but we're getting better in all that regard. I'm proud of it, and I see it. The president announced he's going to pick 20 cities that have been hurt and have the highest unemployment and the highest decay in their cities. I hate to think we might be one, but we might be one. And I'm hoping that Memphis can be one of those 20 cities. It's going to be a somewhat of objective grant determination. So Memphis has to apply, but I've got my staff in Washington looking at it to see what we need to do and make sure we're applying and try to get that money, because the federal government can do so much to help. Beanie, when you know, the housing crisis, I mean, it shows what's happened.
It was devastating. And, you know, one of the things that we looked, I mean, it wasn't, I mean, you know, your housing, I mean, is essential, but it's everything else that goes as part of a household and part of a neighborhood. I mean, a house makes up your neighborhood, who you communicate with, who you know, are associating with. I mean, all of the crime indicators. I mean, when we, and now I know that there's some issues and concerns because we have a huge stock of housing that has gone from home ownership to you know, landlord-based rental, and in one sense it doesn't give that sense of community and commitment to that neighborhood. If you're committed to a neighborhood, your children are growing up with you know, all of the other folks in that neighborhood. They're going to the schools together, they're going to their, you know, faith communities. You know, they are communicating better, communicating more. And, you know, once you know somebody, you can alter their behavior or your behavior can be changed. And it's huge what has happened with Memphis. You know, part of it, we're a non-judicial foreclosure state, which gives us more of an advantage of being targeted by a lot of these companies for foreclosure.
Well, fortunately, the mayor's, particularly Mayor Wharton and Legal Services, worked out something with Wells Fargo, and we got some compensation here. And there's been some opportunities to. And HUD, you work with John Gimmel a lot.
Yes, I do. And HUD has been tremendous. A lot of the folks that we have worked with in the local office in Memphis, as well as Nashville and then the Atlanta region, have helped tremendously in offering opportunities of trying to help folks, certainly through funding sources. The counseling agencies that are all HUD approved, HUD has paid for that, has given extensive training to a lot of the neighborhood groups, organizations, to help a lot of those people who've been facing all kinds of issues.
Robert Lipscomb's done a great job for the city with some of his programs, and they were all funded through the federal government pretty much. And especially with the neighborhood stabilization programs, we've done so much. We're out at Melrose Place, which took the old Barron Road apartments and really brought them up to a really fine standard. And we see other areas where we've used the federal funds, and which were part of the American Recovery and Investment Act, and have been part, and some of which have been cut by the sequester. And so that's a sad thing with this sequester. So many programs are going to be hurt that really help people. And that's something that I have to stand up. I voted against the sequester and the creation of the sequester because I knew it was going to hurt my district and hurt the people that need help and help to create that middle class.
Well, it's interesting there because, you know, a lot of that money, and a lot of the people that are impacted by that, it might be just a little bit. It's just that little bit that will get them over the hump to be able to be productive, and to lose that. To lose, you know, your subsidy, your housing subsidy for like an MHA grant, or to lose any kind of assistance for foreclosure or housing or any of those programs that they fund, it's that little extra that so many of those people need to be able to function. And the fact that we're going to lose a huge amount of that, it's really, really frustrating. And the other resources are just not there. I mean, there's so many wonderful organizations, nonprofit organizations, and the faith community, but they can't do it. They cannot do it.
Speaking of the faith community, they faith can, and I guess that's why Willie came up with the idea of being a member of that faith community. We're having a special program with faith leaders in our office, and we hope to continue that to get them inspired. And I know where there's Pastor Kendrick at Oak Grove was working with another pastor who was a white pastor. He said he was a recovered racist, and he's trying to do things to bring the community together. And ministers can do that, and we hope to encourage that.
Absolutely.
You know, and of course, Pastor Whalum gets into a lot of different programs to the community, and he was just bragging on I think Benjamin Smith and something out of Miracle Temple where they'd done something together, but all kind of activities. The office has been get so many areas. We're going to have our faith-based meeting coming up, which today we met with our young men that got military academy nominations. We had our young professionals meeting just a few weeks ago, and we're going to continue doing that and getting input from young professionals and ideas and try to hone that. We have our arts contest, and you're in charge of that, aren't you?
That's right.
When does that come up again? Or we're going to try to change that to get more art submitted, where high school students can submit a piece of art that could be in the Capitol for a year.
Mike Coates is our contact with the public school system, and Mike has been making a very conscientious effort to capture more of the best art of the students. Part of what art students do is that they have to submit portfolios, and so for their grades and for competitions for scholarships, a lot of times that gets entered, and so we have to work harder to make sure that they get some of that back and enter that into the contest. But I'm expecting more participation, and the art has been good in the past, so I don't mean to say anything was necessarily wrong with it, but to get more to pick from and to get more people involved. Now the district has expanded, we're expanding our scope in seeking young artists.
Do you know when is the date we pick the art for the next year?
You will have that later this month for you to make the choice.
Well, we have different ways we do it, just like with our judges.
I don't have the exact date, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we try to make it objective, and I have the staff look at the art and kind of come up with the right choices, and we did that with the judges too. We had a panel on our judges, 13 lawyers to help me with that, and people talked about our military panel and how they got involved. We try to get people involved. I thank each of you for giving your time of service, which it is service, and making the office work. We're at the 3rd floor in the Clifford Davis Odell Horton Federal Building on the Civic Center Plaza, and if people have issues, they should call 544-4131, and if you want to keep up with what goes on in Washington every week, you can sign up for our newsletter, and you can, I think you do that by going to congressmancohen.com or
Cohen.Cohen.com.
House.gov.
www.cohen.house.gov, and hopefully y'all will put that on the screen, and sign up for our newsletters. And anytime you have an idea for us on community service, we're going to have an area on community service, and let us know about that.
That's it.
Hank, Beanie, Marzie, thank you for being part of the team, and thank you for being guest on Congressional Report. I'm Congressman Steve Cohen. This has been Congressional Report. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.